What if one of the most intense, demanding, and maybe even rewarding periods of your life is also the one we talk about the least?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those years between 30 and 45.
Right. Often just sort of lumped.
Exactly. We're calling this established adulthood. And frankly, the AI analysis we've been diving into suggests it's a profoundly significant developmental stage and maybe the most overlooked.
It really seems that way.
So our mission today is to truly unpack this critical crucible of life for you.
Yeah.
We've been immersed in this AI-driven analysis that synthesizes findings from, well, everything: biology, psychology,
Sociology, philosophy, ethics, economics, the works.
Right. And here's the central, really compelling thesis that emerged. This life stage is defined by a powerful collision.
Okay.
On one side, you have this deep-seated internal drive for generativity.
That impulse to create, nurture, leave something behind.
Exactly, that fundamental human impulse. But on the other side, there's this formidable external structure, what we've kind of dubbed the career and care crunch.
Ah, yes. The big squeeze.
That simultaneous, often conflicting demand to, push your career forward, maintain your relationships, care for kids, and maybe even aging parents.
And this is where the AI truly shines, I think. It reveals something quite remarkable.
Which is?
The career and care crunch isn't just a list of stresses. It's the modern crucible. It actually determines the success or failure of that generative drive.
Wow. So it's the defining factor.
It's the primary determinant, yeah. That constant high-stakes negotiation between these forces shapes your health, your well-being, your contribution to society during this time.
And sets the course for later life, too, presumably.
Absolutely, for decades to follow. So, this deep dive, we're going to dissect these components, map their intricate interactions.
Look at how different cultures handle it.
Exactly. Explore those diverse cultural expressions, and then offer some really actionable AI-driven suggestions for navigating it all.
Okay, let's unpack this then, part one. Before we get into the whole psychosocial drama, we need to understand what's actually happening inside you, the organism itself.
Right, the biology and the cognition.
Because that period from 30 to 45, it's not just a simple decline, is it? It's more like a recalibration.
That's a great word for it. Profound biological and cognitive recalibration. It's almost like an upgrade, but with, new operating parameters.
Okay.
And what truly stands out here is the distinction between your chronological age, the number of candles on the cake, and your biological age.
And how much control we have.
Exactly, how much agency you actually have. We're looking at primary aging, that's the inevitable stuff. Genetically programmed changes like oxidative damage. Can't do much there.
Okay.
But then there's secondary aging. These are declines from controllable factors, things like an unhealthy diet, lack of exercise, chronic stress.
So getting out of shape isn't just inevitable.
Not at all. It's often directly tied to being less active and more stressed out, which makes sense in this life stage, right?
Totally.
And check this out. A landmark study from Stanford Medicine. It revealed biological aging isn't linear. Not at all. The mid-40s specifically are a really significant window for major fluctuations in molecules linked to metabolism, cardiovascular disease, musculoskeletal health.
So like a key moment for intervention.
Precisely. A critical time where lifestyle changes can really impact your future health trajectory.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, the cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
Because our everyday lives are literally writing on our DNA.
They really are.
Like genomic instability. Our DNA takes, up to 1 million hits a day?
That's the estimate, yeah. From UV radiation, toxins, even just normal metabolism.
And our cells try to repair it.
They do. They have amazing repair mechanisms. But some damage inevitably remains.
Leading to mutations, increased cancer risk, or just cells getting old and sluggish. Senescence.
Exactly. Or cell death. Then you've got telomere degradation.
The little caps on the ends of our chromosomes, like shoelace tips.
Perfect analogy. They shorten with each cell division, get too short, and the cell stops dividing or dies.
But doesn't the body have something to fix them? Telomerase.
It does, yes. But in most cells, it's suppressed. And this is fascinating. It's a biological trade-off.
A trade-off? How so?
Suppressing telomerase helps protect against cancer. High telomerase activity lets cancer cells divide endlessly. It's part of their immortality.
Okay. So aging isn't just breakdown, it's programmed protection in a way.
In a very real sense, yes. Which means interventions have to be smart. It's about optimizing the trade-off by reducing damage through lifestyle, not just trying to blindly lengthen telomere.
Right. Nuance is key. And the last one, Epigenetic changes.
Think of your DNA not just as the code, but how the code is read. The epigenome is like chemical annotations, sticky notes on your genes.
And these change based on diet, stress.
Diet, stress, pollution, exercise, your whole life experience modifies these tags, turning genes on or off. This forms the basis of the epigenetic clock.
Which measures biological age.
Exactly. And it often diverges, sometimes dramatically, from your chronological age. It's molecular proof of how lifestyle shapes aging.
You can literally see these cellular things happening systemically.
Oh, absolutely. Observable changes. Take your musculoskeletal system. Sarcopenia muscle loss typically starts around 30, maybe 38% per decade.
It's depressing.
But that old saying, use it or lose it, it is incredibly true here. Diet and resistance exercise can significantly slow that down.
Okay, good news there. What about senses?
Sensory systems. Well, hearing loss can emerge often from noise exposure over time, and vision changes like presbyopia, that needing reading glasses thing.
Yeah, happens to everyone eventually, right?
Pretty much. Difficulty focusing up close due to the lens hardening usually hits around 550.
Yeah.
Cataracts, glaucoma also become more common.
And the big one, metabolic and cardiovascular.
Yeah, this is critical for women. Perimenopause, menopause starting in the 40s often shifts fat storage to the abdomen, that visceral fat.
Which is more dangerous.
Much more harmful, yeah. And for both sexes, atherosclerosis, the hardening of arteries, that's really an aging disease. Root cause of heart attacks, strokes.
And exacerbated by, let me guess.
You got it. Poor diet, chronic stress, inactivity, it all loops back. Those controllable factors and secondary agents.
Okay, so that's the body. What about our minds? Because the common story is just decline after 30.
Right, but that narrative is way too simplistic. The mind in established adulthood undergoes this really strategic, almost paradoxical recalibration.
Trading speed for wisdom. Is that the gist?
That's a great way to put it. It's the great trade-off. Your fluid intelligence, GF, that raw processing power, logical reasoning, reaction time, it does begin a gradual slight decline from your 20s.
So learning new software might take a bit longer.
Might take slightly longer, yeah. But then you have crystallized intelligence, GC.
That's the knowledge experience.
Exactly. Abilities built from experience and knowledge, vocabulary, understanding complex stuff, deep expertise in your field, that continues to increase well into midlife.
So a 45-year-old actually knows more, understands more deeply.
Likely has a richer vocabulary, definitely a deeper understanding of their field than at 25. Absolutely.
And that sets the stage for peak expertise, right? And creativity.
Precisely. It takes about 10 years typically to hit true expertise. So 30s, early 40s, that's often peak consolidation.
And you shift from just solving problems to finding them.
Yes. Problem finding. You use that deep knowledge to identify entirely new challenges, new avenues. And this isn't just for, high-flying professionals.
Right. You mentioned food service workers, too.
Their expertise also demonstrably increases. And creativity, which often builds on that deep expertise, also tends to peak late 30s, early 40s. It's that mix of knowledge and openness.
So the brain changing isn't a flaw, it's adapting.
It's a brilliant functional adaptation. It optimizes your mind for the actual demands of this life stage, the career and care crunch.
Right, managing complexity across different areas, not abstract puzzles.
Exactly. Juggling work, family, finances, that's the real challenge. So that feeling of being slower, it might just be you searching a much, much larger mental database now.
Interesting perspective.
And even though there are gradual small decreases in overall brain volume, gray and white matter, two factors are incredibly protective.
Okay.
One is education. Higher attainment is consistently linked to better cognitive performance and builds cognitive reserve.
Like a buffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your brain can withstand more age-related changes before symptoms show. The other is locus of control.
Believing you're in charge of your life.
Yes, having that internal locus of control, those individuals consistently perform better on cognitive tests. It shows this powerful mind-body connection, or rather, mindset-cognition connection.
Wow. This really reframes lifelong learning for this age group.
It should.
It's not about fixing deficits, it's about leveraging these peak abilities. Mentorship, strategic roles.
Complex judgment, problem finding. Absolutely. And use it or lose it applies just as much to those high-level skills.
Okay, so synthesizing all that biology and cognition, what's the quick AI takeaway for navigating this?
The AI summary is pretty clear. For biology, optimize those trade-offs. Personalized diet, think Mediterranean style. Targeted exercise, strength training for muscle. Cardio for the heart. Stress management, crucial for slowing that epigenetic clock.
Got it. And for cognition?
Leverage your strengths. Shift to experience-based roles. Mentor others. Focus on strategic planning, problem finding. Keep learning within your expertise.
Okay, that makes sense. So building on that foundation, part 2. Let's dive into the core experience, that collision.
The big one, generativity versus the career and care crunch.
Yeah. And they're not separate issues, are they? They're deeply intertwined.
Inextricably linked, the central psychosocial task of adulthood, as Erik Erikson famously put it, is resolving the conflict between generativity and stagnation.
Which you said the AI shows really starts kicking in during the 30s.
Its roots and early manifestations are clearly visible, then yeah. Right as careers and families get established, it's this universal human drive to invest in the future, create a legacy.
And generativity isn't just about having kids, right?
Not at all. It includes procreativity, sure, parenting, but also productivity work, career contributions, and creativity, new ideas, art, knowledge.
So mentoring, community service, building things.
All generative acts. Successfully navigating this leads to what Erikson called the ego virtue of care, a genuine concern for others and the future.
And the alternative is stagnation.
The negative pole, yes. Failure to contribute, it leads to self-absorption, a kind of personal impoverishment, feeling disconnected.
Feeling stuck, unproductive.
Exactly. Unfulfilled, lacking purpose, that profound sense of meaninglessness, like you're just going through the motions.
And the stakes here are huge, aren't they? Resolving this.
Incredibly high. The research is overwhelming. Achieving generativity correlates strongly with higher life satisfaction, better health, positive relationships, greater productivity.
Even better thinking skills later on.
Stronger cognitive function, lower depression risk in later life, yes. While stagnation is linked to poorer health, cognitive decline, and just regret.
So connecting this back to the crunch.
The career and care crunch is the external socioeconomic reality defining this period for most people in developed nations today.
This simultaneous collision of demands.
That's the AI's term, and it fits. It makes it arguably the most intense phase of adult life. You have career demands not exploring anymore, but establishing, progressing.
More responsibility, climbing the ladder.
Deeper expertise needed, huge investments of time, energy, focus. And right alongside that,
family and care demands.
Often the most demanding phases. Transition to parenthood, huge strain on partnerships, daily grind of young kids, and for many, caring for aging parents too. It's a perfect storm.
And all of this fundamentally shapes who you are, your identity.
It absolutely does. Your investment in these adult roles, your successes and struggles, they drive your personality development, your sense of self, your life's direction.
Okay, so the AI analysis put this all together in a model.
Yeah, a really elegant systemic model. It shows the crunch as the central stressor, and it can trigger one of two feedback loops.
Virtuous or vicious?
Exactly. You start with your foundational inputs, your biology, your cognition. The crunch imposes demands from the world.
Work, family.
Right. Now, the virtuous cycle of generativity, that's the positive loop. You use your peak cognitive skills, your expertise, your wisdom.
To successfully manage the crunch.
Yes. You meet those career and family demands. That success fulfills your generative need. You feel satisfied, competent.
Less stress, better health.
Precisely. It reduces stress, which has biological benefits, slows the epigenetic clock, less secondary aging. That enhanced health and cognition then makes it easier to manage the crunch. The cycle reinforces itself upwards.
Like a positive spiral. Okay, but the other side.
The vicious cycle of stagnation, the negative loop. Here, the crunch demands overwhelm your capacity.
Too much work, not enough support. Money worries.
Any number of things. This leads to failure, conflict, burnout, marital problems. It directly thwarts your generative drive.
Leaving you feeling frustrated. Meaningless.
Exactly. And those feelings generate chronic stress, which is toxic.
Accelerates aging, damages DNA.
Shortens telomeres, increases that dangerous visceral fat, ups your risk for chronic diseases. And that deteriorating health then makes it even harder to cope.
Deepening the spiral downwards.
It's a truly negative feedback loop.
You know, this model is so powerful. What really jumps out is that the midlife crisis, it's not some mystery.
Right.
The AI suggests it's basically this system collapsing. Stagnation overwhelming generativity. A crisis of energy, resources, meaning.
That's a perfect summary. A tipping point failure. And knowing this allows for targeted interventions.
How so?
You can bolster capacity, health, wellness, reduce structural demands through policy changes, or reframe meaning's psychological, philosophical guidance, hit the right leverage points in the system.
Okay, moving to part 3. While this push and pull, generativity versus the crunch, seems universal in modern life,
It is, fundamentally.
its expression varies wildly depending on culture, doesn't it? Like different software for the same hardware problem.
Excellent analogy. Each culture provides a different operating system for navigating this. Let's look at a few.
Okay, the Western model. USA, Europe.
Strong emphasis on individualism, personal achievement, the nuclear family. The crunch is often seen as your private battle to fight.
Which can be empowering, but also isolating.
Very much so. It can lead to intense pressure, isolation, burnout. We're seeing rising rates of midlife loneliness in the US and England, for example.
But not everywhere in the West.
Interestingly, no. Countries with stronger social safety nets, Nordic, continental Europe, tend to show stable or even declining loneliness. Support matters.
Okay, how about the East Asian model? Japan, South Korea.
Here, it's often skewed towards extreme career demands. The company can be the main source of identity.
Long hours, pressure to always be there.
Exceptionally long hours, unpaid overtime. Presenteeism, yes. Sadly, leading to things like karoshi death from overwork in Japan.
So generativity gets channeled into the company.
Often, yes, but at a severe cost to health, family well-being, though reforms are slowly starting.
In the Indian model, you said the joint family is key.
Profoundly mediated by the traditional joint family structure. It offers a powerful support network, childcare, economics, big advantages there. But it also imposes a strict patriarchal, hierarchical order. Women's roles are often heavily defined by family, daughter-in-law, wife, mother. Autonomy can be limited.
So the tension is different, tradition versus modern aspiration.
Yeah, exactly. Between traditional expectations, wife obeying husband, son preference, and modern desires for education, career, the crunch is less about lack of support, more about negotiating autonomy and gender roles within that family web.
Fascinating. And sub-Saharan Africa, youngest population, fastest growing workforce.
Unique and incredibly dynamic. The crunch is both micro-individuals establishing livelihoods and macro.
Macro how?
Collectively, this huge young workforce is the engine for a potential demographic dividend. The challenge is structural, creating enough quality jobs.
So entrepreneurship is huge.
Critical. And growth-oriented entrepreneurs that are often 30 or older, right in this life stage. Generativity takes on a national scale, shaping the whole region's future.
Seeing these different approaches, are there philosophical frameworks from these cultures that offer tools for rebalancing the crunch?
Absolutely. The AI highlighted two powerful examples. First, Confucianism from East Asia.
Filial piety.
Zhao, yes. But it's more than just respecting elders. It's a detailed framework of reciprocal duties across generations. Emphasizes relationships, mutual obligation, family as the bedrock of society. A collectivist anchor.
Okay, and the other?
Ubuntu from Southern Africa. Best summed up as, I am because we are.
Beautiful phrase.
Isn't it? Humanity is co-created through community. Interconnectedness, mutual support, compassion, collective responsibility. It recenters generativity on the whole community, not just the nuclear family or the job.
So no single best way, according to the AI.
No. Each is a different set of trade-offs. The AI's really interesting suggestion wasn't to pick one, but to aim for a synthesis.
A global generative culture.
Yeah. Integrating Western individual rights, East Asian discipline, but maybe redirected, Indian Confucian intergenerational responsibility, modernized for equality, and Ubuntu's spirit of shared humanity. Imagine that.
That's a big vision. Okay, part 4. This isn't just biology or sociology. It's deeply personal, existential, ethical.
Absolutely. The pressures force these big questions. Finitude, regret, meaning, justice.
The midlife crisis again. But you said it's more than just unhappiness.
Much more. Philosopher Kiran Setia frames it as a profound existential reckoning. It comes from really feeling life's limitations for the first time.
The temporal predicament. Caught between past regrets and a finite future.
Precisely. The past feels substantial, full of what-ifs. The future no longer feels boundless like it did in youth.
Leading to the problem of the past. Regret and missing out. All those closed doors.
Yeah, but Setia offers a useful perspective. Don't romanticize those lost options. Your current life, the one you actually have, exists because of those choices, even the mistakes.
Okay, that helps. What about the present and future? The telic treadmill.
This is fascinating. Telic activities are goal-oriented. They aim at completion.
Writing a book, getting promoted, raising kids to independence.
Exactly. Life in established adulthood is packed with these. But italic activities have no endpoint. Their value is in the doing.
Like going for a walk, listening to music, quality time.
Perfect examples. The problem with a life only full of telic projects is it condemns you to a cycle. Striving, which is a kind of struggle, followed by completion, which brings relief, but then often boredom, needing the next project.
The treadmill, leaving the present feeling empty.
Kind of pointless, yeah. Always focused on the next milestone.
So the solution is the italic shift.
That's Satya's core idea. Consciously find value in the present, invest time in italic activities, and find the italic within the telic, enjoy the process, not just the outcome.
So enjoy playing with the kids, not just getting them to bed.
Exactly. Rebalance life towards process. Mindfulness is a key tool here, obviously.
Makes sense. And the crunch isn't just personal, it's ethical too. Questions of justice.
Huge ethical dimensions. Family, corporate, state levels. Navigating it justly requires, the AI suggests, 3 core principles.
Okay, first.
Fairness. Equitable distribution of burdens and benefits. Fair share of chores, childcare, emotional labor at home. Fair pay at work. Asking for more work for the same pay after layoffs? That violates fairness.
Second.
Responsibility. Multi-level. Individuals need to set boundaries. Employers have a moral duty for healthy work environments, not demanding total sacrifice. Society, via government, needs to provide structural support family policies.
And third.
Care. Moving beyond just abstract duty to empathy, compassion, concern for well-being. A workplace culture of care sees well-being as vital for productivity. At home, being present, supportive. Societally, valuing leisure, relationships, community as essentials, not luxuries.
This connects to deeper questions too, doesn't it? About rules, why we follow them, why cultures clash.
Absolutely. Rules, laws, ethics, traditions. They're society's attempt to solve its own macro career and care crunch. Managing that tension between individual desire and social harmony, providing structure for generative goals.
So why do people break rules?
Self-interest, status, passion, or sometimes protesting perceived injustice, and crucially, that chronic stress and meaninglessness from the vicious cycle of stagnation, that can be a powerful driver of antisocial behavior when the system feels rigged, offering no path to fulfillment.
And cultural conflict, different rule systems colliding.
Cultures are just different large-scale solutions to human organization, to resolving that generativity crunch dilemma. Clashes happen when their fundamental rules and values conflict, like individualism versus collectivism.
And the AI connects individual struggles to societal ones.
Yes, it's a fractal pattern. An individual trapped on Satya's telic treadmill mirrors a society trapped on a telic treadmill of, say, endless GDP growth that doesn't actually improve well-being.
So the call for work-life balance is also a call for societal change.
It's a call to inject italic values, care, community, leisure, into a relentlessly telic, outcome-obsessed economic system. Solving the individual crisis and the societal one are parallel tasks. Both need to shift from exhaustible outcomes to sustainable processes.
Wow. Okay, part V. After all this dissection, what are the actionable takeaways, the AI-driven suggestions for navigating this?
Right, let's get practical. Individuals have significant agency. Here's the toolkit.
Okay, health and nutrition.
Actively manage secondary aging. Adopt that Mediterranean-style diet, proven benefits for heart health, longevity. Reduce excess fat, salt, sugar. Combine cardio and strength training, 30 minutes brisk activity daily, helps muscle, heart. Prioritize sleep. Use stress reduction, mindfulness, hobbies. These things literally tweak your epigenome, slow the biological clock.
Education and cognition. Leverage strength.
Exactly. Embrace lifelong learning to deepen expertise, expand crystallized intelligence, become a master. Seek generative roles using midlife skills. Mentorship, strategic planning, complex judgment, problem finding. Teaching or guiding others is hugely fulfilling for generativity.
And mindset and philosophy. That italic shift.
Put it into practice. Consciously schedule italic activities, hiking, music, deep conversation valued for the process. Reframe telic projects, find joy in the process. Playing with the child, mentoring the team. Use mindfulness to anchor in the present. It combats anxiety and regret.
But individual effort isn't the whole picture.
Absolutely not. Societies, governments, corporations have a responsibility and a pragmatic interest in creating environments that ease the crunch.
So the societal blueprint, what did the AI suggest?
Okay, workplace policies for the modern workforce. That old ideal employee myth, always available, work is everything, it's outdated and damaging.
Needs to go.
Promote real flexibility. Telecommuting, flex hours, compressed work weeks. institute policies capping excessive overtime, respecting personal time, create formal mentorship programs, experienced folks guiding newer ones, benefits everyone.
Government policies for family and community.
Robust, gender-neutral, family-friendly policies are key. Universally accessible, affordable, high-quality childcare. Comprehensive paid parental leave for both parents. Support for elder care is also crucial. These directly reduce the care burden.
And community investment.
Yes. Well-maintained parks, libraries, community centers, support for local arts, build the social fabric, combat isolation.
And you mentioned a point about leadership, choosing leaders.
Yeah, a really thought-provoking suggestion from the AI. A generative society needs generative leaders.
Meaning?
Criteria should shift beyond just charisma or business success. Look for qualities reflecting successful navigation of life's challenges. Look for Erickson's virtue of care.
A commitment to the next generation.
To the community.
A genuine long-term commitment. A track record of generativity, successful mentorship, community contribution, balancing huge responsibilities with integrity and care, that should be a key qualification.
And maybe the most surprising AI suggestion, the one that ties it all together, about raising kids. Ah, yes. The ultimate generative act. What's the best scenario for raising a healthy, educated, good child?
What did the AI say?
The answer was profound in its simplicity. The most effective child development policy is a robust policy for supporting adults aged 30-45.
Wow. Explain that.
Think about it. When parents are supported financially, structurally, emotionally, when they're healthy, sharp, and have found their own generative purpose,
They have the resources to give.
they possess the essential resources, the energy, mental bandwidth, emotional stability, satisfaction. They can offer unconditional love, security. Conversely, parents stuck in that vicious cycle, stressed, burnt out, insecure, feeling meaningless,
They inevitably pass that stress on.
they transmit that stress and instability. Work pressures spill over massively into home life, much more than the reverse.
So all those policies, parental leave, childcare, flexible work.
They are direct, powerful investments in the next generation's health, education, and well-being. By caring for adults in this crucible, we make the single greatest contribution to the children they're raising.
That's powerful. So established adulthood, 30 to 45. It really is the critical bridge of life.
Absolutely. Where foundations are tested, the path for old age is set.
A time of intense paradox. Peak cognitive strengths meeting early physical decline.
Immense external pressure hitting that deep internal drive for legacy.
And resolving that conflict, navigating the crucible, it determines so much.
Individual happiness, health, family vitality, economic productivity, the well-being of the next generation, it's all interconnected.
And success isn't luck, it's systemic balance.
That virtuous cycle of generativity fuels purpose, well-being, health, capacity. The vicious cycle of stagnation erodes it all,
And this deep dive really showed how cultures tackle it differently.
each with strengths and weaknesses.
But synthesizing that wisdom, learning from each other, we can build something better.
That's the hope. And the role of AI here isn't magic answers. It's doing that massive cross-disciplinary synthesis needed to see the whole picture.
Mapping the feedback loops. Biology, psychology, individual lives, society.
Giving us a clearer, more integrated map of our own life course than we've ever had before.
And that understanding empowers us
Yeah.
as individuals, communities, globally.
To move beyond just enduring this critical stage, we can actively shape it for the better.
So the final thought to leave everyone with.
Well, building on all this, it raises an important question for you listening right now. If your own potential midlife crisis feels like that telic treadmill of chasing exhaustible goals, and if our societies often seem stuck on a similar treadmill of endless growth that doesn't always equate to well-being,
Yeah.
how might you start to shift your own life or advocate for changes in your community towards more atelic values? Values rooted in ongoing care, connection, presence, to truly forge a more profoundly meaningful and flourishing existence for yourself and maybe, just maybe, for the generations to come.
This is DigitView.